The flag's here, guys. You guys are doing the Star Spangled Banner.
Good morning. I'm Williamsburg High School Principal Jason Tackett, and we'd like to welcome all of you to the 2023 Veterans Day program. We are so thankful for each of you and every person that's in attendance today. Thank you to Mr. Kevin Lockwood and Mrs. Karen Green for the leadership over the musical selections today. Thank you to Mr. Bogan, Mrs. Huffer Mendoza, and Mrs. Vianchik for their roles in making today possible. Thank you to our community and our families for your support of our veterans this morning. Thank you to our students and our faculty for taking the time to pay the respect deserved to those who have served. And finally, thank you to the men and women who have served our country. We are forever in debt for your service. I'd be remiss if I didn't take a minute to recognize our veterans on staff. Mr. Wisman, Mr. Herron, Mr. Stidham, I don't know if you heard me over the applause, but Mr. Herron, Mr. Germer, and though he's retired, he's still here and officially on staff, Mr. Healy. At this time, please remain seated for the presentation of colors by the Williamsburg American Legion.
Please rise, remove your hats as we honor the nation's flag with the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner. Thank you. Please be seated. I would like now to introduce Senior Class President Elizabeth Bowling.
When Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner almost 200 years ago, he called America the land of the free and the home of the brave. Those words are as true today as they were then. Throughout this nation's history, America's soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen have bravely answered the call to defend our freedom, to aid our friends and allies, and to turn back aggressors. We can never fully repay our debt of gratitude to the 650,000 American service members who died in battle, or the 1.4 million who were wounded. We can, however, recognize and thank the 25 million veterans still living today. These words are inscribed on the Korean War Memorial in Washington, D.C. Our nation honors her sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and people they never met. Those words apply equally to many of our World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, and Gulf War veterans as well. They apply to today's active duty service members, tomorrow's veterans, who are helping to maintain peace throughout the world. Today, it is our privilege to say thank you to all of America's veterans, to let them know that we appreciate them for their service and honor them for their sacrifices. The price of freedom is high. We cannot afford to forget those willing to pay it. Today, we celebrate America's veterans for keeping this nation the land of the free and the home of the brave. I'd like to introduce the elementary first grade students directed by Mrs. Karen Green singing "This Land is Your Land." I'd now like to introduce the middle and high school choir and band directed by Mr. Kevin Lockwood singing An American Celebration. I would like to introduce Beckett Moore, Williamsburg Elementary Student Council President.
Greg Price was born in Fort Riley, Kansas. He was raised in both California and Ohio. He enlisted in the Army in 2004 during his senior year of high school. During his time in the Army, Mr. Price was a cavalry scout and an infantryman. He also achieved the enlisted rank of Sergeant First Class and was deployed to both Kuwait and Iraq. In 2010, Kuwait and Iraq. In 2010, Mr. Price was awarded the Combat Infantry Badge for being in multiple combat engagements in Ramadi, Iraq. Mr. Price received a business degree from Southern New Hampshire University in 2016. 2 years later, in 2018, while serving in the Ohio Army National Guard, Mr. Price was accepted to the Drug Enforcement Administration, where he attended the Special Agents Academy in Quantico, Virginia. After his graduation from the academy, he was assigned to the Cincinnati District Office. In 2019, Mr. Price received a commission from the Army Warrant Officer Candidate School and was accepted into the Army Flight School in Fort Rucker, Alabama. He graduated from the Army Flight School in 2021 as a UH-60 Black Hawk pilot. He was assigned to the 137 Aviation Regiment in Columbus, Ohio. Mr. Price has been active in the Army for the past 19 years and continues to serve his country as a federal special agent with the Drug Enforcement Administration, as well as Chief Warrant Officer 2 Army Black Hawk pilot in the Ohio Army National Guard. We are so lucky to have our guest speaker here with us today. Please help me welcome Mr. Greg Price.
How about that introduction? Thank you. Thank you, everybody. First off, I'd like to thank Principal Tackett and Vice Principal Kirk for allowing me to be here and speak today at the Veterans Day ceremony with this amazing group of young men and women. I would also like to acknowledge all special guests and veterans who are in attendance watching today, as well as give a special thank you to the veterans' spouses and family members, as they are true heroes behind the curtains, as my wife will gladly remind me whether I'm home or away. While us as veterans are away from our families, either home or abroad, our spouses and families are the ones keeping everything together. Whether it's paying bills, taking kids to school, to sports activities, games, etc. We must keep in mind that our spouses and families are the true heroes as well. If you are a spouse or a family member of a veteran, I'd like to recognize you. If you would please stand so we give you a round of applause. Thank you, and I hope you understand how important you are to us. So thank you all for being here, and of course, thank you for those who put all this together and who are participating in the events today. This is absolutely incredible, and this is such an honor to be asked to speak here today in front of all of you on Veterans Day. Let's go over a little bit of history of Veterans Day. The first Veterans Day was declared a National Day of Remembrance by President Woodrow Wilson in 1919. We celebrate Veterans Day on the anniversary of the armistice, the end of World War I. The armistice that began on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. In the years since, President Wilson made the 11th of November a National Day of Remembrance. The scope of our observance has changed, though, since. From the day set aside to remember those dead of the war, to a day of which American veterans from all wars, as well as those who have served in time of peace, could be honored. Our men and women in the military have superb training and are the best equipped and able commanders. And they have another great advantage. They have the example of the American veteran who came before them. And that's all of you here today. From the very day George Washington took command, the uniform of the United States has always stood for courage and decency and shining hope in the world of darkness. And all who have worn that uniform have won the thanks of the American people. This is a very important day for obvious reasons. To honor our vets, it is a holiday that honors everyone who has served in the military. It does not matter if they have served in wartime or died in battle. Today is a day to acknowledge and appreciate and honor those who have all served. This is a day to thank them and their families and their sacrifices for all they have done, and to honor them and to make sure that they know they will never be forgotten, and thank them for everything they've done for us. But that is all just a start. I believe that we come to the tradition to just thank a veteran, which is good, don't get me wrong. But as we as Americans have also grown to forgetful of the principles that the veterans stand for. And I think we need to remember what veterans fight for in the first place. Veterans have and will continue to fight for the person to the left and right of every single one of you in here. We will fight for this beautiful country and the spirit that it brings. Veterans will fight for the republic to protect your God-given rights, your God-given right to speak freely, to pursue your happinesses and dreams, and to allow us to wake up every day knowing that we have freedom. When I think of a veteran, I think of a hero. I think of someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than oneself. You know, while my service has taken me overseas, I've spent time in a country in the Middle East called Iraq. I remember being on a mission when I first got there, and I felt so grateful for what I had and what my family had back home. I remember seeing children walk tens of miles to the nearest road where they knew American convoys would be coming. I would see 5-year-old boys and girls carrying their baby brothers and sisters, begging for food and water. They loved our candy and Pop-Tarts, I remember that. I remember seeing these kids playing soccer barefoot in rocks and sand and debris everywhere. I remember coming home telling myself that I would never complain again, that I was spoiled as an American, and I could never take anything for granted. I know it's hard to understand because we as Americans have been so blessed for everything we have, regardless if we are rich or poor. We have it better as Americans. And for that, we need to thank our veterans who have protected this great country of ours for all these years. You know, this world is full of statistics. As children growing up, we are told that some of you won't graduate high school. Some of you won't go to college. Well, what I want to tell you today is this country is a country of opportunity. As a service member, we are known to be the 1%ers, meaning that only 1% of Americans serve and protect this country of ours. Regardless if you join the military or not, there are all kinds of ways that you can show your appreciation to veterans and serve your country, your cities, and your communities. Whether you want to run for office one day, be a doctor, a nurse, a firefighter, a police officer, a teacher, a coach, there are plenty of ways to serve. Today I want to challenge everyone here who is listening. I want to challenge you to be 1% better every day of your lives. Every day you wake up, you strive to be 1% better than yesterday. Whether it's getting up on time, making your bed, which my boys are still struggling with, and you know who you are, Price boys. Whether it's listening to your parents, teachers, not fighting with your siblings, whether it's taking the extra time to study for your test, taking the extra second to hold the door for somebody, this all makes a difference not only in your life, but those around you. These are ways you can show your appreciation to veterans and to make this country great. I would like to ask all veterans to please stand so we can thank you once again for your great sacrifice you have made for all of us here today. Thank you. Before I conclude my remarks, I want to thank Williamsburg schools and community for this great honor and to let veterans all know that we are all sincerely grateful for all veterans fighting for our freedoms and that what we have today. And that Veterans Day is a day for all Americans. Remember that every day we can be 1% better than yesterday. And as long as we strive to get better every day, this country will always strive to be great. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce Brantley Wilson, Middle School Student Council Member.
Space Force is our newest division of the military. Established in 2019, Space Force became the first new branch of the Armed Forces in the past 73 years. For the last 60 years, space capabilities have become essential to the way a modern military conducts operations. Investments in space capabilities have increased the effectiveness of operations in every other domain. The U.S. military is faster, better connected, more informed, and precise because of space. Today, the Guardians of the United States Space Force have been called to protect and defend American interests to ensure our forces, our allies, and the world never experience a day without space. They serve across the globe, working 24/7 to design, acquire, field, test, operate, and defend the critical space systems the nation and the world rely upon. Will all members of the Space Force please stand to be recognized? I'd like to introduce Grace Early, Junior Class President.
From the first battles at Lexington and Concord to the Civil War to the liberation of Nazi-controlled Europe, American soldiers are celebrated for their vigor and bravery in combat. On June 14, 1775, the Second Continental Congress formed the Continental Army as a means for the 13 unified American colonies to fight the forces of Britain. George Washington was unanimously elected Commander-in-Chief of the fledgling army, and he would lead the colonies to their victory and independence. Today, the Army is made up of more than 750,000 soldiers, including active duty and Army Reserve personnel. Army soldiers fill many roles. They are doctors, lawyers, and engineers. They are electricians, computer programmers, and helicopter pilots. They are police officers, logistics experts, and civil affairs representatives. The Army's constant need for a diverse range of individual soldiers, each with his or her own expertise, is what sets it apart from the other military branches. Would all members of the Army Reserves, and Ohio National Guard please stand to be recognized? I'd now like to introduce freshman class president Addie Law.
Since its birth on October 13, 1775, the Navy has been involved with more than 10 major wars and countless battles in the effort to bring security, democracy, peace, and prosperity to the American people. It stood as a constant deterrent against international aggression, fought the good fight when necessary, acted as a willing source of assistance to those in crisis or need around the globe, and moved humanity forward through everything from action to innovation. Today, the Navy is made up of over 341,000 active sailors and over 100,000 in the Navy Reserves. Would all members of the Navy and Navy Reserves please stand to be recognized? I'd now like to introduce sophomore class president Emily Early.
The United States Marine Corps was founded in 1775, even before our nation was officially formed. This elite group of men and women lived by a strict code of integrity and ethics, producing not just strong warriors, but people of an exceptional character. The core values of honor, courage, and commitment inform everything a Marine does on and off the battlefield. The Marine Corps plays a major role as the first force on the ground in most conflicts. Today, approximately 180,000 Marines are stationed around the world at all times, ready to deploy quickly, whenever and wherever needed. The commitment ranges from 4 to 5 years of service, but as the saying goes, there are no ex-Marines or former Marines, simply Marines in different uniforms and in different phases of life. Would all members of the Marines please stand to be recognized? I'd now like to introduce Maddie Vaughn, Middle School Student Council member.
The Coast Guard is one of our nation's 6 military services. Founded in 1790, they exist to defend and preserve the United States. They protect the personal safety and security of our people, the marine transportation system and infrastructure, our natural and economic resources, and the territorial integrity of our nation from both internal and external threats, natural and man-made. They protect these interests in U.S. ports and inland waterways along the coast on international waters. The Coast Guard is a military multi-mission maritime force offering a unique blend of military, law enforcement, humanitarian, and regulatory and diplomatic capabilities. These capabilities underpin our 3 broad roles: maritime safety, maritime security, and maritime stewardship. There are currently over 80,000 members of the Coast Guard. Would all members of the Coast Guard please stand to be recognized? I'd now like to introduce Mia Dillinger, Middle School Student Council President.
The Air Force began as a subdivision of the U.S. Army and was declared an official combatant arm in 1920. It wasn't until 1947, following World War II, that the Air Force was recognized as its own military branch. The Air Force provides advanced, hands-on training for hundreds of careers. Pilots and flight crew are just the tip of the iceberg. The Air Force relies on mechanics, electronic technicians, air traffic controllers, medical staff, and other personnel to fulfill its objectives. Today's Air Force operates in keeping with a three-part vision: global vigilance, reach, and power. This vision empowers a technologically advanced force of more than 300,000 troops focused on air, space, and cyberspace superiority. Today, the Air Force has over 500,000 members in active duty, civil employees, Air Force Reserve personnel, and Air National Guard personnel. Would all members of the Air Force please stand to be recognized? I would now like to introduce Mr. Kevin Dunn, Williamsburg Elementary School Principal.
When I came here this morning, I thought I knew what I was going to say at the end of this wonderful ceremony, and then I heard Mr. Price's speech. And students, I must say that I know sometimes it's difficult to hear inside a gymnasium, but if I could give you one sound piece of advice, it would go back to the link that's posted and listen to that speech, because it's filled with rich life lessons that I think can help all of us tremendously. And it made me think more about not just saying thank you, but following through and understanding and reminding ourselves that our actions speak so much louder than our words. And every student in this district starts their day and ends their day with two common character traits that we talk about: what it means to be respectful and what it means to be responsible. And I think Mr. Price so beautifully articulated today different ways to show respect, and not in the sense of just honoring authority figures, but respecting each other, extending kindness, taking care of each other, taking care of our friend group, our classrooms, our hallways, our homes, and our communities. It made me think about what it means when we talk about being responsible. And that's seeking to be a helper, being someone that is not only a protector, but an active problem solver, so that everyone can have as few barriers as possible as they seek to realize their potential and to be happy. So again, Mr. Price, incredible speech today. I really appreciate the lessons that you shared with us today. Our staff, our leadership team look forward to this day each year. And I know that veterans, your schedules are busy, your time with your families are precious, and there are a lot of ceremonies that you could be at. But by you choosing to spend your morning with us, you provide us with an incredible learning experience. The ceremony is the culminating event where we get to formally say thank you, but in the days and the weeks leading up to this, our students are given a platform to learn so much about not only what Veterans Day are, what service is, but all these nuanced lessons like those that Mr. Price articulated today. Veterans, as we dismiss today, are invited to stay in your seats. I know some of our staff would like to say hello and thank you, and that'll also help keep you safe from getting swept up in about 1,000 students heading out of the gymnasium today. So on behalf of our entire school district, our staff, and all of our students, thank you so much for everything that you've given, and thank you for being here with us today.
That concludes our ceremony. Again, thank you so much for coming. Middle high school students, we're going to dismiss in an orderly fashion. Sixth grade, you're going to go straight to lunch. We're going to dismiss one row at a time until the bleachers are empty, starting down there with the sixth grade. Elementary school, I'm assuming you'll do the same. Again, veterans, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Sixth and seventh grade are going straight to lunch.